Extension, Education, and Economic Committee Board. So today, Chair Guild isn't feeling well, so I, as Vice Chair of the committee, will be chairing today's meeting. Let's move on to agenda number 2, public comment. Was there anyone who signed up for public comment on WebEx? Since in the room here, it's just us 4, so. Okay, seeing that there are none, then we will move on to agenda number 3, which is approval of the October 7th, 2021 Extension, Education, and Economic Development Committee minutes. So seeking a motion to approve.
I move approval.
Supervisor Rosenberg motions to approve. Is there a second?
Supervisor Vol, second.
Supervisor Vol, second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Then motion to approve. Those who approve say aye.
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 Nays say no. Okay. Minutes for October 7th, 2021 has been approved. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda number 4, policy issues, discussion, and potential committee determination. So first is WCA Discover Wisconsin, the Uniquely Wisconsin program. And it looks like this is just a policy question for today. And the question is, should Marathon County expend further funds to participate in the program? And I do see that in our packet, there is a presentation. So Administrator Leonard is joining us by WebEx.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Lowe.
Thank you.
As you alluded to, there is some information within your packet, so I'll be very brief. For those of you that attended the Wisconsin Counties Association annual conference, you saw reference to this. It's also been referenced in several communications from Mark O'Connell, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Counties Association recently. This is a program that was put together through the Counties Association and Discover Wisconsin, whereby counties could essentially sign on to allow for the Discover Wisconsin program staff to put together advertising and other information to essentially market the county and the assets within the county to individuals that might be looking to relocate to the area or through the normal Discover Wisconsin programming. So you'll see within your packet there is reference to generally what those modes of communication or modes of advertisement would be. You'll also see a signed contract from Washington County, Wisconsin. The Washington County Executive is currently the president of the Wisconsin Counties Executives and Administrators Group that I am a part of. So he, working with Mark O'Connell, really are offering this program to all of the counties in the state of Wisconsin. As I understand it at this time, there are 6 counties that have signed on as lately as I've heard. They were hoping to get 20 to do that. I did reach out to the new executive director of the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Tim White, to inquire if the CVB may be interested in partnering with the county to essentially split the cost of that and also utilize some of that advertising, perhaps some additional venues through which or modes through which to deliver that communication. Mr. White did inform me that he was interested and would be discussing that with his board. So as you alluded to, Vice Chair Lowe, really the policy question is, should Marathon County expend funds to participate in the program? And what I'm looking for from this committee is whether you want me to engage in additional discussions with Mr. White and bring back a formal proposal to expend funds for that. My inclination at this point is that we would be based on the conversation I've had or the communications I've had with Mr. White, we'd be looking at splitting the cost for that program. So the Marathon County share would be $30,000 of the program. I'll also do some investigation if you desire me to see if the program is in fact still available. I know the counties association was hoping to have more counties signed on by this point, but I wanted to bring this to this committee, as was my sense that this committee was really the based on the nature of the program and the question before the board, it was within the jurisdiction of this committee. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions I can, but most of the information, really what I know based on the information within the packet.
All right, thank you, Administrator Leonard. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Is there anyone?
Supervisor Hall has a question.
Supervisor Voll, you are recognized.
Thank you. So Lance, have we done anything like this in the past, or is this something new for us?
That's a great question. I'm not aware if we've ever participated in the Discover Wisconsin program before. I do know other counties have participated in that program. I'm part of a regional group that meets weekly to discuss issues that administrators and executives are facing. And we've had some discussions about counties that have done that in the past. I can't recall if we've expended funds in a similar work. However, this committee, for those of you that have been on the board for a while, this committee used to have funds available within the annual budget. They were allocated to this committee for purposes of reallocation to other entities within Marathon County that were pursuing various events. For example, the Ginseng Festival was something that was funded through the Extension Education Economic Development Committee. The Wausau Chamber has had several initiatives that received funding from the board through this body over the years, but a couple of years ago that funding was reallocated through the annual budget process and it hasn't been restored. So I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, Supervisor Voll, but I hope that's as valuable as I could give, because I don't have any specific recollection of funds being expended through Discover Wisconsin. That certainly doesn't mean it hasn't happened before, however.
Right. Sure. No, that's just kind of what I was looking for. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Sorry, I guess I did have one follow-up question.
Yep, go ahead.
So Lance, is this a one-time thing, or is this would be an annual renewal expectation?
My understanding is the program is simply a one-year program, a set fee set forth in the contract. And again,
Okay.
the direction I'm asking for is if you want me to continue to work with Tim White and try to put something together to fund this and identify a funding source, because I haven't done that as of yet. I'm sure we could find $30,000 to do it. That's not, that doesn't strike me as a big lift, however.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay,
Vice Chair Lowe, I believe Supervisor Book has her hand raised.
Okay, Supervisor Book, go ahead.
Hi. My question was the same as Supervisor Voll's. I do think it looks like a great program in which to be involved, but my question has been answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Book.
Supervisor Lowe, if I can add one other thing, I neglected to mention that in my conversation with several administrators and my conversation with Tim White from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, I referenced that I thought, at least from my perspective, one of the main reasons that if the county was going to participate, one of the main reasons would be tying it directly back to advertising relative to some county-owned assets. For example, 9 Mile or the Dells of the Eau Claire. If we can drive additional users to those sites, that does correlate to direct revenue to each of those sites through our Parks Department. Of course, we would benefit from general tourism spending based on our 0.5% sales tax that we do have in Marathon County. However, that was one thing that I did discuss with Mr. White, and he seemed to be supportive of that idea that for the county to participate, there would be some expectation that some of the Marathon County specific assets would be highlighted within that programming. I don't know if that's something we can do working with Discover Wisconsin, but that was at least my thought.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, Vice Chair Lowell, this is Supervisor Seefeld.
Go ahead, Supervisor Seefeld.
Yes, thank you. I think it's worth looking into because we do have a lot of opportunities in Marathon County to advertise, as Lance said, our great parks, and we have our, ski hill. Well, not Rib Mountain, but Sylvan Ski Hill. I think it's worth taking a good look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback off of Supervisor Seefeld's comment as well. I think, it doesn't hurt to, just explore, the funding part of this that Administrator Leonard was talking about with Mr. White. So I think for now, I think that's something that is doable. Just to explore that and to see what he comes back with, to see if, they would be willing to split that cost 50-50. So are there any other comments before?
Vice Chair Lowe, this is Administrator Leonard again, if I may.
Go ahead.
Given what I interpret as general consensus that you'd like me to move forward, if I can speak with Mr. White, and I, quite honestly, I expect him to indicate that there is an opportunity to split the cost. Perhaps it would be efficient to have this committee recommend participating in the program, provided there is equal participation from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we move it on to the HR Finance and Property Committee to approve the funding.
So Administrator Leonard, are you asking for a motion?
I think a formal motion would be helpful, certainly for me, but also just for transparency for the public to know that we're supportive of, that this committee is supportive of finding a funding source for participation in the program.
Okay. So seeking a motion to recommend participation to seek finances for this Uniquely Wisconsin program.
I'd make that motion, Rosenberg, and
Okay. So Supervisor Rosenberg with the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Book seconds that motion. All right. And all those who approve this motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, and those who do not say no? All right, and that motion is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to 4B, update on the 2018 to 2022 Strategic Plan Committee objectives. I know that at our last meeting, we did have a conversation about this with Vice Chair McEwen. And so we were to come to our next meeting with a review of things that this committee has done in the past year. So Vice Chair McEwen, did you want to take that? Is he there? Okay, well, so,
Vice Chair McEwen, I think you're still on mute.
oh. Okay.
It's off mute. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh,
Now we
there
can
he
hear you.
is.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
there you are.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lowe. As, as far as our discussion from your October meeting, there were a lot of thoughts as far as the progress of the the four objectives that this committee is the lead committee for. And I know there was discussion from, excuse me, Chair Gill about some of the policies, resolutions that this committee had worked on over the past year and a half. And I guess what I was looking for from this committee were two things: the tracking mechanism, which is the template that ERC was using. I don't know if there was any discussion about that, about utilizing that template.
I don't think there was any conversation about the template, although we did go through it, not at the last meeting, but the previous meetings before, we did go through that. But I think everyone was in consensus that that was a good tracking system.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess my my last comment was that we're ending the fourth year of our 5-year strategic plan, and my question was: is this committee actually has 4 months left in this term, not knowing what the committee will consist of after the April new board comes on. But I just wanted to emphasize that are there any policies, resolutions that would help implement the strategic plan, not only on, excuse me, not only on your your 4 objectives, but of the whole strategic plan. And like I said, you have basically 3 meetings after this, to work on some of those issues. But also, I know I had mentioned that Administrator Leonard released the update of the 2018-2022 strategic plan. And I don't know if members had the time to look at that, but it does list specific items that this committee addressed, reference those objectives. And like I said, it was a good discussion in October, and my goal is to continue the discussion with all the committees to try to emphasize that there's a short period of time left that this committee is going to be together, and specific items that I would ask you look at to try to move forward before then. And I know also the strategies and the outcome measures to look at those specific items that are part of all the objectives. And I know Administrator Leonard addressed the Health and Human Services about some of the items like 7.2 that Health and Human Services is the lead committee for. And there was a good discussion about some of the items that they may not have been able to accomplish. And he emphasized that with the COVID, a lot of our priorities, our resources have been changed or allocated to deal with that specific issue. So I understand that. But I guess to keep this committee moving forward, with the items that they would like to finish up with, those are things that I want to emphasize. I don't know if Administrator Leonard has any other comments on it, but I know he did send that link out for the update on the 2020 up to 2020 on the strategic plan. I hope everybody got that.
Vice Chair McEwen, yeah, I would offer one thing. I think the idea, based on the conversations that I've seen at other committees, the question that Vice Chair McEwen offered is a good one, which is, again, we have a limited amount of time left at the end of this term. What really do we want to focus on? And I'll make one suggestion that it occurred to me as I was listening to the Vice Chair talk about kind of the discussions at other committees. Health and Human Services has been really discussing trying to come up with a framework for the utilization and deployment of the American Rescue Plan Act funds. And while that framework isn't in place, one of the areas that they have discussed trying to support through the allocation of funds is addressing economic development and specifically addressing the shortage of affordable childcare for people within our community. There's a lot of data that is out there relative to the impact on the impact of the lack of affordable childcare and what it is having on our workforce, the number of people that are essentially withdrawing from the labor market. And I'm hearing similar things in my discussions with other local administrators, even local school superintendents. And in fact, I have a meeting next week where I'm going to be meeting with some representatives from the city of Wausau as well as DC Everest School District. And I've already spoken with the Wausau School District about this, trying to understand what impact everyone is having with childcare. And I know Committee Chair Guild was really active on the Early Years Coalition in Marathon County and some of the work they did around access to affordable childcare. So that's one area that I think does hit on some of the pieces that you're responsible for under the strategic plan. I'm not sure. It's certainly just a high level topic, but if even if it's simply this committee expressing support for the allocation of those funds through the ARPA process, I think that would be helpful. And also some of the updates you're going to get later today from M. Weber from McDovco. There may be other things that come to your attention that you really think you can focus on in the last several months of the term. But I think that's a good way to look at it. What are the policy issues you want to tackle before the end of this term? Because as the Vice Chair referenced, the committee is going to be reformulated after the elections, and they're going to set their own priorities to address. So it's really finishing the term strong, I guess, is the analogy there.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to add that, childcare was one of those things that Chair Guild did mention when we did talk about this last time. I'm agreeable to that. And so I know that with Jason from UW Extension, we did create a whole list of things that the committee wanted to tackle. And so I know that we probably can't do all of them, with the remaining time that we do have for this term. But we can definitely tackle one or two probably before that. So I think childcare is one of those things, definitely one of those things. Are there any questions or comments from committee members in regards to our objectives? Anything that committee members wanted to see before the end of the term?
Yes, Vice Chair Lowell, this is Supervisor Seefeld.
Supervisor Seefeld, go ahead.
I agree with you. I think we should emphasis on the child care part of it. I think it would be well worth for this committee to get involved in that. That's just my comment. I think we should look very close into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Okay, so I am hearing a consensus on childcare, more work into that before the end of the term, but I'm not hearing anything else. So Vice Chair McEwen, I'm hearing childcare.
Yeah, yes, Vice Chair Lowe, I believe that that is definitely a worthwhile issue to look at, because it definitely does involve economic development, and with the shortages of all areas of employment in Marathon County, which you can, anywhere you go, they have, employment needed signs everywhere. And in fact, there's some places, and a lot of them aren't childcare, but they are small businesses, or businesses like restaurants, and that many of them have closed, or some people don't even have anything open except their drive up. So I do think, and this is a change, like I said, with some of the strategies, or even some of the outcome measures due to COVID. And that's why, many of these things, the priorities, and, where our resources should be focused on have changed. So I think, if you can, like I said, pinpoint that, childcare, that's definitely a worthwhile issue.
Okay, great, thank you. So it sounds like there's consensus on childcare. I'm not hearing any objections, unless there are now. Okay.
So Vice Chair Lowe, I think I can work with Chair Guild between this meeting and your next meeting, and I can report back what I learned from my conversation with representatives from the city and local school districts, to kind of give the committee a better sense of kind of the lay of the land, or the local environment, and what other large entities, governmental entities, are thinking. And then also Chair Guild can perhaps give a summary of the work that she had done prior to the pandemic, with some of the work, some of the entities she's involved in, and have additional discussion on that topic. Does that sound like a good course of action?
Yes, that sounds great to me. If there are no objections, then we should, I think we should go ahead with that. Okay, hearing no objections, then Administrator Leonard, please go ahead with that for our next meeting.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Vice Chair McEwen, was there anything else that you wanted to cover under this agenda item?
No, I think the discussion was very good, and like I said, I just want to encourage the committee to look back at that 2020 update that Administrator Leonard had issued, and like I said, it may give you some ideas on other items that could be moved forward. So, but I appreciate the discussion and thank the committee.
Okay, thank you. All right. Then moving on the agenda, number 5, operational functions required by statute, ordinance, or resolution, and there are none. So we will be moving on to agenda item number 6, educational presentations, outcome monitoring reports. And so first on that agenda item is the Marathon County Public Library, and Leah Giordano is listed as the presenter. Is she here on WebEx?
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lowe. You should all have my report in front of you from the packet. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have about it or clarify anything. I have an update on our passport services. It's something that we had done in the past, stopped for a period of time because of COVID, and we just started opening that back up again. It's been very, very successful. I think in just the past couple weeks of opening up appointments, we've filled, I think, about 75% of our available appointments, and we've had a couple of walk-ins as well. So that's going very nicely. Also, just this afternoon before this meeting started, we had a spontaneous visit from State Superintendent and Deputy State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Jill Underly and John Johnson. And so I gave them a tour of the library, and we talked about how things have been going and how we're handling services amid the pandemic. And I got to show off some of our new furnishings. And that was a cool, fun visit. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about my report or about anything?
Great. Any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. That's wonderful that, State Superintendent Underly stopped in to tour the library. So it must have been very exciting.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was a really last minute thing. I got a call yesterday afternoon that they would be in town and they'd like to visit. So they got to meet with WVLS. They got to meet with us and give them a tour. And I gave them a study room for a little while to hang out before their next meeting.
Wonderful. Sounds great. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there are no other questions or comments, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. And it'll be McDevco, and the presenter is Kim Weber.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lowe. So I haven't had the pleasure of meeting a lot of you. So before I go into some of the meat and potatoes of what I put in the report, just wanted to give you a really quick bio of who I am. So Kim Weber, I started with McDevco after Vicki retired. She retired October 8th, and I started just over a month ago, end of October. So previously I was the store director at the Target in Weston. So I probably recognize a lot of you shoppers from there. And I have a long past with McDevco and the entrepreneurial education programs, as my husband were part of the incubator space, taking coursework, and then Open Timekeeper Distillery. So, and we're McDevco clients. So what's really exciting is to be part of this organization, sitting in the ED chair as somebody that grew up in the program. So I know you probably have all reviewed the packet, so I'll give you a moment to just, I'll answer questions. But the really big three focuses that I shared with Lance when we had the opportunity to meet that I'll be really focusing on is the GET financing piece. So leveraging some of those revolving loan funds that we have through the city and Marathon County to really drive economic development within Marathon County. You can see we did 3 loans last year and kind of the totals where we're at, but I'm hitting the ground running really hard with this one, so we can really make some draws to the area here. My second focus is going to be around memberships and specifically municipality support. I've had a lot of inquiries surrounding site selection and people wanting to move to Marathon County and what do you have? And I think this is something within my first 4 weeks I've heard at least 4 times, and I think we have a definite need to do some site selection support for all of our municipalities here to bring some draw and showcase what we have in Marathon County. And the last piece is obviously the education portion, something I'm very passionate about that I grew up in here. We have an e-seedling program that I didn't include in the packet as it's very brand new. That's for young entrepreneurs, I believe age 13 through 16, that I'll be hosting in spring, and drawing more tenants to the Entrepreneurial Education Center to lease space either in the manufacturing or in the office realm. Very excited to report we're looking like we're at 71% occupancy. We have some new kitchen tenants and only 1 manufacturing space left. So very, very excited about that. So just a very broad overview for you guys, but can I answer any questions based on what I published in this report? I've got a lot of exciting things in the hopper and look to have you guys as great partners.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. Well, welcome to McDevco, Kim.
Thank you.
And we're hoping that, your time at McDevco will be, you're going to bring, I feel like you're going to bring a lot of energy and excitement to McDevco, and it already sounds like that. So already sounds like a great start.
Okay. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on with the agenda then. So our next presenter is the UW-Madison Division of Extension from Jason.
Yes, good evening, and thank you, Vice Chair Lowe. So like the other presenters had mentioned, the write-up from our educators is in your packet. A couple of things I want to draw your attention to is each month as we can, we try to highlight what our educators are working on that work to achieve the objectives in your strategic plan. Objective 10.6, ensuring the future availability of a skilled workforce. Janelle our horticulture educator, has been working diligently as part of a state team to bring a foundations in horticulture program to the state, which allows participants to get advanced training and then also some skilled resources and skill development in horticulture, working whether that is in a greenhouse as a seasonal employee, whether that is working with fleet farm, those sort of things, basic concepts that gives them employable skills in the green industry. And as you see, the last part of that, working with the green team and veterans. So there's a partnership with Janelle in our office with the working with the veterans over the last couple of months to bring that to them as well. So kind of the cross-programming and cross-departmental piece there. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is under the 4-H Youth Development Program and Caitlin Bernardi. The first one, the bullet that she has there is working on the 4-H Thriving Model Survey. This is a survey and a model that has been used nationally, but the assessment of the impacts of our program through this Thriving Survey is going to set a benchmark for us to improve our delivery, improve our educational outcomes. And she was part of the team that brought this survey to the state of Wisconsin. And it does actually, we are the first state in the nation to take this survey statewide as a benchmark for our young people in our 4-H program. And the response rate from Marathon County, it still is trickling in, but one of the largest response rates, percentages, not actually in volume, but percentages across the state. So we were able to do that, and that's for our 5-year-old through 18-year-old program, community club program. So we're excited about that, and the data will help us grow and develop. And the last thing I want to draw your attention to in the report is under the there it is, the Foodwise program. We are starting to do more in-person programming through our Foodwise program. It's a federally funded SNAP Ed dollars, and we have Gao Nu Tao, who's our Strong Bodies, and our Hmong Strong Bodies program series is back and running. And I think that's a unique opportunity for us, and is setting us up for actually program expansion into Portage County and across the state through the work of Gao Nu in our office there. So the Strong Bodies program used to be called Strong Women, but we know that not just older women, but also older men could benefit from just physical activity and getting out of their homes and getting active. And so especially in the Hmong community here in Marathon County, the aging population, we learned that does need that extra attention too. So we're putting extra effort into that too. So that's in your report. The last thing I want to let you know of, and I did send a email message to all of you, Caitlin Bernardi has moved on from our office. She was recently hired as the city clerk for the city of Wausau. So definitely a great opportunity for her, but also a sad piece for our office. She was a wonderful colleague, and I know he's going to do amazing things for the city of Wausau in that role. We are currently recruiting for that position. It's a full-time position, focusing on our membership program, our 4-H Community Club membership program. The position closes December 13th. So I'm optimistic we'll be able to have somebody on board in a short order. Last time we had a vacancy in that position was nearly 7 to 8 months, and so that caused a lot of turmoil for that program. And I've expedited that to get that posted and hired as soon as possible. I've also asked Supervisor Seefeld and Supervisor Beestrom, who have both accepted invitations to be part of that interview team when we get to that point, because of their experience with the 4-H program and with our partnership with both fairs, the Athens Fair and the Wisconsin Valley Fair, and they've had a lot of experience with our 4-H program over the years. So thank you to those individuals for stepping forward and with that request. So again, I'm optimistic that by February 1 at the latest, we'll have somebody in that position, and we'll welcome them to this committee and bring them in for introduction. So with that, thanks again, Vice Chair Lowe, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? All right. Thank you, Jason. Great work on that. The Hmong Strong Bodies program and the 4-H survey that, Wisconsin is the first in the nation. Wisconsin always seems to be coming out first in the nation for everything, it seems like. So good, big win on that. And thank you, Supervisor Seefeld and Beestrom, for volunteering to interview to replace Caitlin. So you're in good hands. Thank you. All right. Moving on, then our next presenter is Ann Herder-Rapp, and she will be giving us a presentation on UW Stevens Point Wausau campus. Is she there?
Hi, everybody. Yep, I'm here.
All right.
I'm a little tardy to this because I have to close the COVID testing site each Thursday. So I've described it as feeling like I'm in purgatory, and I joked about that for a really long time now because I thought we would be way beyond this. Because we opened the testing site a year ago, mid-November. So it's been a long year. But we're still getting traffic there, and honestly, I've quit betting on when it's going to close. So I think I'll just continue to be there every Thursday. Anyway, so I hope everybody is well. It's really strange to not see any of you in person for as long as it's been, but it is what it is. So I submitted a report in the packet. Maybe the only other thing that I will piggyback on is Kim's report, and because our food vendor on campus, A Taste of Jamaica, is just doing swimmingly. I hope you will stop by because the food is so good that I think we're all going to gain 15 pounds because they're here. It's absolutely fabulous. And they got their start out at McDevco. So we're grateful for that. This was a stepping stone from McDevco. They needed bigger space, and now they're getting their start here. And it's to the benefit of the campus, and I think to the benefit of the community too. So it's absolutely delicious food. So they have lunch every day and during the week, and then expanded to do dinners on Fridays and Saturdays. And that's more traditional Jamaican fare on Fridays and Saturdays. So I'd encourage you to give it a try. I can't seem to get past the jerk chicken sandwich because it's absolutely fabulous. So every time I stand in line, they ask me the usual, Ann, and I very embarrassingly say yes because I don't seem to branch out beyond it. It's that delicious. The rest of my report is pretty much self-explanatory. I will just only add that we continue to explore new bachelor's degree options for the campus. And we're waiting on a little bit more data from our institutional research office. And then I think pretty soon after that, my guess is that we'll have a couple of new bachelor's degree programs that will be rolling out. And the enrollment in those programs has been really, really strong. And we're starting to see that especially in the new admits that apply in each new admission cycle, which kicks off in August. And so we're really seeing it in those numbers. So, that's all good news. And then, I probably should mention the last part that I'll be transitioning out of my position, at probably the end of May sometime, and back into the classroom. I miss teaching terribly. Lance can attest to that. It is who I am. And so I figure I'm going to work for another 5 or 6 years, and I really want to do it in the classroom as a professor, because that is really who I am. So we'll be doing a search to replace me, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be a really terrific search. And we'll find somebody that serves the campus, but also works really well with the county, because I think we've all worked really hard to develop a good working relationship. I appreciate that very much, that we work together as well as we do. So thank you for that.
All right,
So
thank
that's
you.
the end of the report.
Thank you, Anne. Are there any comments or questions from the committee? All right, hearing none. Then thank you, Anne. Sorry to hear that you're moving out of your position, but you're, still staying with us. So, but, do what you love, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do what you love what you do.
Yes, definitely. Well, you'll still be here, but you did.
I will be
done-
on campus.
Yes. You've done a great job moving UW Stevens Point, through the transition and through COVID. And so you've done a great job. So thank you very much. All right. So moving on, number 7 on our agenda. So the next meeting time, location, announcements, and future agenda items. Committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. Are there any? All right, hearing none. Then our next meeting will be Thursday, January 5th, 2022, actually. That's a misprint right there, at 4 p.m. So that's our next meeting. And so our last agenda item is adjournment. So seeking a motion to adjourn. Supervisor Rosenberg with the motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Supervisor Buch with a second. And everyone to adjourn say aye.
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 And those who want to stay say no. All right, hearing none, then this is a motion to adjourn our meeting for today. Everyone have a good evening, and I'll see you at the full board meeting in like a week. Thank you.